It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday live from Pahrump in the Dirt Bike Test palatial, well-lit studio. I'm Jimmy Lewis. This is where we talk about dirt bike and dirt bike-related products. I answer your questions. I'm right 70% of the time, at least. I can verify that 20% of the time. So I will try to answer your questions. Keep it honest, keep it real. I see a lot of these questions that kind of come through a lot of the different posts or social media stuff all the time, and I want to respond to them, but I just don't have time to type. And then seems like you can get in a pretty good discussion there. I will call it a discussion to be polite. And then I don't have time to go defend myself, and then I'm wrong. So here you can't shoot me down because it's my podcast, and I'm just going to tell you the way I think. So good on you. So we're going to talk about tonight. We are going to talk about the 2020 KTM TPI two-strokes that I raced and rode last week up in Washington and in Oregon and again in Nevada. I spent a fair amount of time. I think I've got over 12 hours on the 300 now. I have some interesting stuff to tell you about that. I raced the 150 XCW also. I'm going to talk about that one a little bit because I also, in the course of riding, I got to ride a carbureted 150, a 2017 or 18 carbureted one. So I have some back-to-back that I can talk about. I'm going to talk about the Christini 450 AWD that we just published our first riding impression up on the website. So that's dirtbiketest.com. If you don't know about that, I can tell you a little bit about that, or you can actually, instead of watching me sit here and talk, you could actually click over on that and read it, and then you could probably come up with some questions. It's a pretty, I would say, light review on the technical side of things, but it's more of an explanation on how the all-wheel drive system works and stuff. Although I did kind of go into the new bike, which is all new fuel engine management system on that one for this year. And then I have the questions that I'm going to get to. And I'm going to do a product of the week talk because I had a really good experience with a product that I like, and I felt like I should tell you about it. So I will do that as well. So to get started, I'm going to go over my KTM TPI questions. And then if you have more, feel free to chime in. I'm seeing that they are popping up on the screen now, so that's good. So the first question, this is from Justin Bradley. He asked, any tuning changes needed to put on a higher compression head? And the answer is yes, I think so. So like anything, these bikes, the way they come, they're tuned to run stock the way they are. This is a competition bike, so it's not like it's a corked up. They're trying to get what they feel the best performance is for that bike. So much so, in fact, that they don't really even want you to adjust the power valve, which I went ahead and did to just see what happens. And so anytime you change something, and especially on a two-stroke, when you start changing compression ratios, you would, if you had a carburetor, more than likely probably have to jet it. So that's the exact same thing with the fuel injection. And the other thing I did was I went and got my hands on one of the JD jetting tuners specifically designed for the two-stroke. And basically, it's the same tool and interface. It just has two plugs, one that goes to each of the injectors that are sitting on the transfer ports, and it works almost exactly the same as it does on a four-stroke. You can make it richer and you can make it leaner in all of the same areas. And I was pretty impressed with it. Didn't seem to make like as much of a difference in some respects as it does on a four-stroke. A little harder to notice it because it seemed, but then there was points where you could actually get the bike to almost shut down. I mean, you could make it too lean or too rich where all of a sudden it would bog like a traditional carburetor when you went outside what probably the parameters it works in. So yes, if you do any changes, I think you're going to have to couple it with some sort of a fuel management system, whether that's a JD tuner, which is a very simple one. I'm sure companies like Vortex and Get will have their, they replace the entire ECU. Although I don't know how quickly that's going to come. You see the ECU on this bike; it's a big unit. It's actually built by Continental, and then it controls the Dell'Orto parts that are part of the throttle body and stuff. So, yes, Grant Polanski wants to know, what is the miles per gallon? I have been averaging 35 miles a gallon as an average. I can get a little bit better if I'm careful, but I'm not careful most of the time because I'm just screwing around and trying different stuff. So 35 is kind of where I'm at. So that puts you a little over 70. And we did a 68-mile loop, and I still had, I think I was going to say about 10 gallon or 10 more miles easy in the tank, but I haven't run it out yet, so I can't tell you exactly. But when I fill it up at the pump, it's doing about 35. Anywhere from 33 to 37 is the range. Morgan wants to know, what are the wrinkles in the pipe for? So when you look at the pipe, and you can kind of see it up in the picture behind me very carefully, the pipe has these, it's a good term for it, wrinkles. They are to strengthen the pipe. They're essentially kind of divots, and I haven't cut it open to see if they're rippled inside, but I suspect it is, because it would be pretty difficult to shield it, make it double walled or something if they're not doing that. But those are to add strength to the pipe. And it's actually, I pulled the pipe off. It's actually a pretty heavy gauge. It would be more equivalent to if you bought one of the older like FMF Burley pipes when they used to make the thicker gauge two-stroke pipes. That's the kind of the weight of that particular pipe, and putting those creases in there adds a certain amount of strength. And I've put the bike down a couple times, and it seems like it's working. I can't really tell specifically because I don't know if that would have dented a normal one or not, but it's has some scratches on it, and it's still not dented. The other thing, if you look at that pipe, it's very ovalized. They've gone to a lot of effort to turn that pipe, instead of just being round tubes, into an oval shape to tuck it up closer to the engine, make it not stick out as much. The shape they did with the turns and stuff. So did a good job with that pipe. Jesse's a top fan. I seen that little tag on his there. You mentioned the XC and XCW having the same gear ratios. I don't think I said that. Why not make the XC tighter to give you more pop for the hardcore racer? So the XC has a motocross gearbox in it, or I think they call it a semi-wide ratio. I should probably look at the sheets. Hey Bob, you want to do research? Go over there on that table, and there's two big, they look like placemat-sized folded pieces of orange paper, and look in the specs on the back and see what it says about the transmission ratios. But from what I can tell, first gear on the XCW is much lower than on the XC. And I never got a chance to ride the new XC wide open like I did the XCW, but I think the upper gear ratios, I'd have to actually see the gear spread chart sometimes they give us, but I think that somebody said the first two gears are what's changed, and I know the final drive is slightly altered. I think it's by 1 or 2 teeth between an XC and XCW. So, but for sure, with 100% certainty, if you are racing, the XCW first gear is basically useless unless you're racing extreme enduro. So, anyways, that's the answer to that. So yes, they do have different gearboxes. They definitely call the XCW a wide ratio, and then I don't know whether they call it close ratio or semi wide or something like that on the XC. Jennifer Crooks asks, is the pipe bang under D-cell an issue? And so what she is talking about is like sometimes when you have especially a richly jetted two-stroke, when you on D-cell, it goes bing, 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 more common on the large displacement bikes. And for the most part, no. It's the fuel injected bikes are so perfect in their jetting or their fuel management that they don't do that too much. That's not to say that you can't with the idle adjust, and it does it every once in a while, but I would say it's maybe 90% less, just stock for stock, especially compared to the Mikuni, with the idle set comparably. So no, it's not an issue. I think it's it's better on that. So good question. George, should I have waited until 2020 model year for the 300? Yeah, you probably should have. I don't know. So the big change that they made on the engine management system, and I'll talk about this, is that they added an ambient air pressure sensor because there were some issues, and it's funny. A few people asked me questions about what the bike. They sent in. They said, "Hey, my bike gets really lean or really rich when I do this, or when I'm just riding it." And so I did a climb, basically a 2,000-foot climb on a road at a mine, and kind of rode up it. And after 2,000 feet, I stopped, and I didn't shut the bike off. But when you're on the gas and stuff, you don't notice it too much. But boy, when it comes back down to idle, all of a sudden it's like, hey, this thing's lean. And then I started paying attention to it. And even when I was kind of rolling it on and stuff, it had gotten lean. But when I went up in altitude, strangely, it was very lean. And if you shut the bike off and then just tap the starter and then start it back up, it's perfect again. So I don't know if that ambient air pressure sensor is taking readings all the time or just when you start it. So I did that. I did it when I had the JD jetting tuner on. I thought, okay, maybe. So I took it, I disconnected it and did it again, and it duplicated it. And with the tuner, I could actually richen the mixture back up and get it to, I could richen the mixture back up while it was still running. I don't need that, Bob. You just sit over there and just answer the question. You don't have to waddle through here with all the noise-making papers, because I could hear him. But anyways, so the mixture, so it gets lean, and then so yesterday when I was out here on the way down off the mountain, I left it. I made sure it stayed running for a 2,000-foot drop in elevation, and it got rich, noticeably rich. So it's an issue. I think that was something that they really wanted to fix, and I don't think they necessarily did. Now the amount of times you're actually going to cover, and it takes about 2,000 feet before you notice it. So that's not been corrected or altered. You can shut the bike off and start it. Maybe in their testing, they never went 2,000 feet before it happened. I've been able to duplicate it a few times, so we'll see kind of what happens. But that would be the biggest thing that I think they would want to make changes on. But between the 19 and the 20, especially on the XCW, because it got an all-new chassis, is they did a brilliant job with that chassis, and the suspension works even better. So I don't know if you're gonna. And the cool thing about it is the feel that you get on that bike now, the planted feel, the comfort, is so good with working with the suspension. Yet the bike still feels really light, because typically when you get a bike that feels that light, it dances around and deflects, and this bike does none of that. That's why I really wanted to get it back down here and ride it on our gravel and some of our kind of soft trails with the loose rocks and stuff that kick the bike around, because I didn't experience that a whole lot up north. But I came back yesterday and I was completely surprised. So yeah, George, you made a mistake. Traded. You can sell. I will buy your 19 for a substantially reduced price, because you've worn it out, I'm sure, and then the couple months that you had it. So. Those are our questions on the TPI bikes. Yeah, I had to take care of that problem. And I'm going to go run back through the questions and see what we've got here. Let's see. I got a thumbs up. That's good. Let's see. Excited to read about the Christini. Meant to go back to that. I'm going to get to that, Chris. Thank you. Let's see. Greg Moore. Jimmy, just letting you know, the 2020. Okay, that's good, Greg. Were you the one that asked about the spark plug? Because I did check that. So it is a standard BR7ES spark plug. Yeah, see, sometimes even the guys that give us the information, David, don't have it all on point. And his job is more to make sure that the journalists are well fed and pampered, and not to memorize every single fact because, of course, they have to know the facts for what KTM has, like 20 or 30 bikes. But I did go check that. That's why I like to get the bike and take it away so I can play with it. And the next thing I want to do, and I got to ask permission because I don't like to tear into perfectly good bikes. I want to pull the cylinder head off of that thing because it does do a little bit of detonation. And I heard it. You hear it all the time, and I want to look to see if there's any noticeable marks on the piston or on the cylinder head. So that call is probably coming tomorrow morning when I ask to talk to somebody that knows a little bit more about the jetting issue. So, okay, Bob, what's the question on the transmissions?
Well, they don't give the ratios, but the primary ratios are different between the XC and the XCW.
The primary ratio?
Yeah.
Between the clutch and the...
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what that means, because they have a final drive.
You're not looking at... Make sure you're looking at 300 to 300, not 150 to 300.
No, it's a 300 is a 2673 for the XC, and the 300 is the it's the same for the...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're the same.
Yeah, you're right.
So the final drive, I know the final drive is off one, but what do they call the transmission? One is called a wide ratio, and the other one is called a...
It just says...
6-speed constant mesh.
It just says it has 6 gears.
6 gears, and the other one is 6 gears.
6 gears wide ratio for the XW.
Okay.
And just
6
gears.
six speeds. Okay, yeah. So it doesn't specifically say, and that's the kind of stuff that I can ask and get more specific answers. But anyways, yeah, Greg. Yeah, and I was told that there was no real big difference. There was some different resistor inside of that plug, and I think they were just in the beginning probably being very careful about anything that could affect that ECU and stuff like that. So yeah, Grant, 35 miles an hour, 35 miles a gallon. I just saw you joined in there. Let's see. Is it something that could be Frankensteined onto another bike? David, what are you talking about? I don't know. Thoughts on adding an ounce to the gas for TPI? Ounce of what? What are we talking about here? I'm trying to go back up to the questions to see. Yeah, an ounce of what? So I have yet. So I put like 6 tanks. Well, I filled the tank up 6 or 7 times now, and I still have quite a bit of oil inside of the reservoir. So it's funny. You just almost forget about it, but that might be a bad thing. There's a light that's going to come on eventually, but I'm waiting for that to happen. But I'm really waiting to see how many hours and how many miles I'm going to get based on the oil, because I think that's more accurate than quote tanks of gas, because sometimes it's completely empty and sometimes it's almost full. Let's see. They have some aftermarket ECUs for the 2-stroke. They do? Okay. Do you plan on testing any of them? I have heard good things about the Athena ECU. I'd like to test them. It just depends. I'm actually trying to get my hands on George's 300 TPI bike to test all this stuff on, like when he sells it to me real cheap. So that's I'd like to try it because see what they can do. Because even just the JD Tuner was pretty good, but with the bike being stock as it is right now, I didn't need to do it. But so what I did was I went and started playing with the power valve, and so my power valve was set at like 3.4 turns out from. Let me make sure I do this. 3.4 turns from all the way out, because if you screw it all the way in, it'll go inside the cases. So I unscrewed mine all the way back in, and it's 3.4 turns back in. And so I was able to, without making a fueling adjustment, without having anything really happen much, go a turn in either direction. And it does pretty drastically change the power delivery. So I thought it would affect the engine management a little bit more, the fueling a little bit more, but it didn't, or it didn't make it that bad. But so the biggest that was the biggest change. Even changing the fueling on the JD unit, they have it. All 3s would be completely stock, and then adding kind of their standard setting was pretty good. Made the bike a little bit more peppy. They're a little richer on the bottom, more so in the mid, but then they're leaner up on top. And it gave the bike a little bit better over rev and just a kind of a little bit longer pull on top, which is kind of strange for it being leaner. Usually leaner means it signs off quicker, but that's what happened. But I was able to find that if I compressed the I got to get this straight because I always get backwards. So when you're tightening that spring up, you're actually putting more preload on it, and the power valve opens sooner. And when I was like about a half to 3/4 of a turn in, the bike got really snappy, like motocross snappy. I was kind of surprised because I was under the impression that it was maybe harder to do that with the fuel injection, but it got plenty snappy. And then you could open it up and also make it bog or pull longer without that power valve opening. So if you wanted to ride, like a lot of times I want to ride that bike a gear high, and by going like a half turn more in, it made it so it really woke up when I was riding that gear high style. And if I was like wanting to rev more, I could close it down and then kind of keep it mellow so it didn't have that surge or that pickup in the mid range. So pretty good overall. A noticeable change. And they, like I say, they don't want you to adjust it, but I didn't see any downsides to it. But in conjunction with having the JD tuner and then playing around a little bit with that, I could, just like on the 4-strokes, you could actually make some pretty significant changes. And that was on a bike that was otherwise completely stock. So that was my experience with the thing. Yeah, thanks for telling Grant that I said 33 to 37 there. Got it. Yeah, that is Mojave Bob that's in the house. Yeah, he lives here in Pahrump now. He's slowly destroying our town because he doesn't go to the bars and support the local economy like he's supposed to. He goes to yoga. Yeah, yoga. Right, Bob? Yeah, hot yoga, huh? Is your instructor hot?
She's older than I am.
Older than you. You better find a new yoga. Let's see. Oil. Mark wanted to know about oil. Why would you want to add oil to the gas? It's already doing it kind of perfect for you. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. It seems like it's doing pretty good. Actually, here's you want to see how much I trust it. Go look at the Dirt Bike Test Instagram. You probably have about another hour or two because I think it keeps those stories up there for an hour. Check our story and you will see how fast a KTM 300 TPI goes at night. Yeah. And I held it wide open for a pretty substantially long time, and then I just shut her down, and it just pulled up to a nice little clean idle. And if your bike isn't jetted perfect, you don't have the right oil ratio in there, that's probably something you wouldn't do. But I did it anyways, because in the name of testing. Why did your buddy decide to go to the 219 plug on his 2020 KTM? Decided there was a better one. He's replying to Greg. What did Greg say? I don't know. Let's see. He was curious. The spark plug. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I've seen people play with the CRKX 500s and adding fuel injection. Just thought it was interesting personally, but how does this stuff get started? 500 2-strokes are dead. Let's see. Bob does goat yoga. See, you're just going down the internet pipelines. Okay, so what we're going to start, we're going to switch gears here. I'll switch gears. Hold on. I'll reach off your screen. Tonight's tequila is Ragosa. You may remember this one. This is George. Oh, it's the wrong. That looks like the label to me. Yeah, Ragosa, imported from Cabo San Lucas. Thanks, George. I'll have this, and then I'll probably really want to buy your 300. So we're going to move over onto the Cristini. This is probably a good time to have a little shot right now. So we put the test up earlier today. We tagged it on Facebook and put it out there. I'll leave this out here so you can just drool. Dave Phillips says, and I quote, "Trust me, this bike is a pile of shit, Kevin Beck." So, Dave Phillips, do you have a Cristini? Have you ridden a new Cristini? I'm kind of guessing you haven't because the one that I have is one of the first ones, and I don't know who Kevin is, but I suspect Kevin's probably like your buddy that has one, and he probably rides better than you or something, and you're just like jealous. But this is where all this crap goes on the internet. And like I said, some of the chatter in the forum gets out of hand, or it's not like, I mean, it's okay to have kind of some fun. And let's see, Dave Phillips is I won't say those words out loud because I want kids to watch this show. Anyways, yeah, it's like, what do you know about that bike? Have you ridden one? We are trying to accurately describe the bike. Okay. I do some work with Christini. I've helped them with some of their fuel injection stuff. And the reason you're not seeing a full test on that bike where I talk about exactly how it is because I have not ridden it enough to comment on things like how the durability, the absolute, how the suspension, completely performs. I haven't had time to go and play with the clickers. I already know it's soft. I know the intended market for that bike. It's a trail rider guy. It's not a guy who's going trying to win races or going to be, desert racing. It's more of the dual sport trail riding guy. For that, the suspension is really good. We explain that kind of stuff. I mentioned that the clutch pull is actually better than on the Honda motor, that motor so much copies. But when you look at parts, there's things like the radiator shrouds have a small aluminum connector that connect from the frame where they should attach to where the shroud goes. So we're very honest about the way that bike works. But pile of shit, it's like that's kind of out there, and this is where this kind of stuff gets started, and you haven't even given this thing a chance. I bet you would think my beloved Husaberg is a pile of shit, and those are fighting words in this particular building. Yeah. So I would like to actually, you know what? You should let me test David Phillips. Let me test your motorcycle. Bring your perfect Bob bitchin' bike out here, bring it out here, and I would like to test it because I want to see what your level is so we can actually find out where pile of shit is. And if your bike makes anything else like a pile of shit or anything that we talk about, I will say that. I will honestly say that, you know what? Dave Phillips should be designing and developing motorcycles for all the manufacturers because his stuff is on point. So anyways, David Phillips, thanks for the comment, and we look forward to hearing from you in the near future. Right? Cheers. So yeah, that's it. But I don't see if we have any other questions here. I saw the comments. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, and you know what? So San Felipe Bob has a lot of permission to talk about the Christini because he actually raced the 250. It's actually a 280, a CRF 280X that I had. He rode it in the Tecate Enduro one year, and so he has a lot of experience with it. I've put him on it when we've been trail riding up in the mountains. And it actually, in some of the stuff, it actually took him up a little bit of a level. And the bike does have a recluse clutch, and it's very easy to ride. But the all-wheel drive, when you start letting it do what it does, which is kind of traction control, it's kind of an advantage. I think really the heavier the bike, the better it seems to work, in my experience. And that's the other thing about the Christini. It's heavy, Dave Phillips. You could have said it was a heavy piece of shit, and I would have given you like 20% more credibility. But it is heavy. It kind of hits the scales at, I think it's like 305 is where we did it with the full weight, which means it's kind of a portly bike. But when you're riding, it sure doesn't feel that heavy. Does it feel that heavy, Mitch? Yeah, Mitch did some
compared to my 650L.
Yeah, it's like a really light 650L with just as much power. So, and all-wheel drive. So Mitch did some of the braking on the bike when we first got it here. So. Okay, I think that's enough. So yeah, Bob can answer. Bob, you can take all the Christini questions as we go. Let's see, how different are these compared to the old? What was that question? It's scrolled by old Christini builds. We used to see it in Enduro Cross. The older Christini's, a lot of more conversions. So he first started by doing conversion kits. So you would send him a frame, they would do all the conversions to it, and then they would send it back, and you would assemble it. They'd come with all their parts and the triple clamps and all the stuff it needed to convert. But then he never really had a manufacturer bite on it, and So he decided to go and have his own bike produced, and he has the one that's kind of it's the same as the SSRs. I don't know. It's a company called Asia Wing that basically kind of builds knockoff motorcycles, and he went there and had them. It's kind of a collaboration, and we talk a little bit about where all the parts come from in the story, but it's basically built in a few different factories over there, and then they're assembled over here with parts for his all-wheel drive stuff that's made here. And that's sort of where you get kind of the Cristini. But it's one of the things I'd like to do with this bike as we keep it for a while is I'd like to start switching over some Honda parts into the motor and stuff, see if that makes that much of a difference. But the Asian motors have been pretty durable lately. There was a time when they were breaking, and it's probably just like, some of the other bikes, some of these manufacturers, even though it's like made in Japan, it's mostly made in China. It's just shipped over to Japan and assembled there, or the whole engine is shipped over. And the quality control is getting better. It has to. And so that's probably the biggest question. That's a question I intend to answer before I write a full test of the bike. So, these are, I think they're just as, I would say you'd probably, if you really wanted to have a KTM-like or a Honda-like bike, you would start with a KTM or Honda and have the conversion done. This is like starting with something that's a little bit more like along the lines of something like a Kawasaki KLR or another one of those, like some of the Honda CRF-Fs that are built not in Japan, and you can see it. The quality is definitely a little bit different, but not enough to draw concerns, and especially not if you're just going to buy it as a trail riding bike. Heck, the military buys these things, and when those guys are riding them, evidently their lives are probably in jeopardy. So they trust them enough. I don't know. That's probably not saying much, right? as somebody who rode around in a tank, right? At some point in his life, helicopters, right? Helicopters. Yeah. Well, you're still here. Let's see. Octagon. What about the Octagon? I like the Octagon. It's a big deal to decide to buy a two-wheel drive bike and then go. It would be smarter to pick up a cheaper bike first. Let's see. Bob's going to handle that. Let's see. Jimmy Lewis Dust for the first time on a Cristini. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Why is Taylor Roberts not involved in Dakar? I think Taylor Roberts is involved in winning the Work Series right now. That's probably his main focus. So, you know how like guys get old and then they go race Dakar? He's not old enough yet. I guess. I don't know. I imagine if that's where his path takes him, he might want to do that. Who knows? So the Cristini is still lighter than a DRZ. I don't have the weight on a DRZ, but you're barking up the right tree. Yes. Let's see. Let's see where we're at here. Hey, Jimmy. David, that's always a great comment. As I'm trying to sift through these ones to get to the question. Let's see. The military guys buy KLRs that run on diesel. Are they still doing that? Still having the diesels and stuff? Yeah, it's interesting because we actually have a post on the site about the Cristini. The Cristini actually developed a rotary powered electric bike because there was basically a mandate from the military. It's more of a mobile power source is what it is, but it had to be two-wheeled. It had to be all-wheel drive, and so there's some information on that on our website. You can search that as well. Let's see. Yes, the Army had the best equipment. Sure they did. Okay. Hey, product of the week. I'm going to tell you why I picked this. This is my Klim Tactical Pro jersey. Hey, wait, the advertising's falling apart here. I'll just put it back up there. That's right.
Woody was there. Woody would have helped.
Yeah, Red Woody would have held it up if I had a guest host. The Dust Bunny that rides around in the motorhome. I'm probably going to spill everything when I do this. But anyways, this jersey is called a Klim Tactical Pro jersey. It was formerly the Dakar Pro. And the reason I'm talking about this is so last night when I was out riding, I lost my front end in a turn, and I kind of laid down on my belly right on a punji stick. a tree that somebody had cut, and it was kind of sharp and stuff, and I have a little teeny tiny scratch on my big belly. But the funny thing is if you've ever, so these jerseys are built like they're tanks. It's probably maybe 3 times the weight of a current jersey, but it's completely vented. I mean, you can literally, I can literally almost see through it, and the material is like, well, let's see what it is. It says, let's see, 4-way stretch woven Cordura nylon construction. So I think that's this stuff here. And if I had not been wearing that, I'd probably have a hole in my stomach right now. So, but like I said, have a little scratch. And actually, if you look closely at this, you can actually see there's like a line where the branch had almost like kind of polished the material. But this is the jersey I wear most of the time, especially in the summer when it's hot out. I actually wear it quite a bit in the winter. I'll just wear something underneath. It's so vented. It has some stretchy material up here in the shoulders that has like pads built into it, like kind of probably about double the pads of a normal thing. But it's a $140 jersey, and you're saying, man, that's a lot for a jersey. It's along the lines of jacket price, but considering I don't have punji marks, and like I've been wearing this thing for 2 years since it came out in 2013. No, the Dakar Pro came out in 2013, so this is probably a couple years older, and it doesn't have a tear in it. It's frankly, it's awesome. So I'm actually, when I post this up on the website, this Tech Talk, I will probably tag this through the Amazon banner, because this is the product we're talking about. It comes heavily recommended, even at $140. It's probably the last jersey you'll have to buy. And once you don't have punji stick in your stomach, you will appreciate that. So, pretty good. Let's see. What do they say here? They say most durable materials to shrug off trailside debris, branch encounters, and other formerly unforgettable riding incidents. Yeah, I still believe that. It has a pocket. The pocket actually has a little piece of foam so you can wipe your goggles and stuff, but it's a good place to kind of carry your phone. Little things like that. A cookie, if you will. Maybe a Kate's bar like this. Kate's bar. Yeah, because that's what you need to carry so you don't get tired on the trail, because if you do, then you can't go riding with me if you have food eating problems. So thanks to Kate's bar. They've been a long time sponsor of us. Climb as well has been a long-time sponsor of Dirt Bike Tests, so good on you. I'm glad that I could tell you how much I like that particular jersey. On to the next questions. Shannon Mariner asks, will ISDE ever come to the USA? You know what's funny is just the other day I saw something that said it's coming to the USA and it's coming to Ohio. I don't know where I saw it. I didn't verify it even before I went on the show. I kind of went and did a quick little search. Hey, good George, get that tag up there. Get that link up there. You need to put a link somehow through our Amazon account so we can get a nickel or two from this. But I tried to do some research to see if it is coming to the USA, and I couldn't find anything in any of the news. I don't remember where I saw it. Probably just went across the social media channel, so I believe it about as much as I believe Dave Phillips thinking that that bike was a pile of shit. So, you know, I hope they pick someplace better than the John Zink Ranch to have it. And if it's in Ohio, I guess they could, put it someplace cool back there. Since the AMA's there, that gives it even a little bit more credibility that that's where they try to have it. But anyways, yeah, it'd be nice to see the ISD come to the United States. But I don't know. So maybe somebody can Google that and do better searching than I did. George has another question. George says, I think he's asking for a friend. Let's see. What's the non-metallic gray flaky stuff deep down in the pleats of my KTM 1190 oil filter? Seen gasket material of this color and some O-rings before. And it says, Axe Jimmy, he'll know. Yes, you're correct. It's generally gasket material. So in my experience on those motors, some of the gaskets that go in the oil, does that have external oil lines? I know on my 990, 950, the O-rings that go on the that go to the external oil lines that kind of plug back into the cases had green O-rings on them. And a lot of times when those things would go in the sleeves, they would kind of sliver a little bit and stuff would get in there. Yeah, there's definitely some green gasket material in there. So I would go with that. Otherwise, I have no idea where it could come from. Because the cam chain sliders in there are generally kind of an orange or a kind of a natural color. So unless someone's screwing with you and putting gummy bears inside of your oil, I don't know what it could be, but probably gasket material. I don't know where, if the bike is old and it's kind of a new thing that's just coming out of nowhere, that might be a little bit of concern, because the oil filter is your kind of first step in deciding how healthy is my motor. Is there, if I ever hear noises in my motor, the first thing I go and check is I change the oil and I check the oil filter to see if there's anything revealing in there, if there's pieces of metal or whatnot. And, over the life of the motor, you're always going to see like little aluminum flakes and maybe some bearing kind of materials and stuff that come off of races. Is there any green bearing races in there? I don't know. Haven't had to take one of those motors apart yet, so I don't. Yeah, a seal. Yeah, I don't really know that there's any green seals in there to speak of either. But I mean, for a seal to start getting chewed up, it's got to be something going on. But I would suspect that if it's not accompanied by any awkward noises, it's probably nothing to worry about, unless it kind of continues, and then I would start getting worried. But if it's a new bike or it's the first time you've really checked it, put a new filter in and start over again, or clean if it's a stainless one, which I run on a lot of my bikes, I clean them out really good on a white, on a nice white towel, and then look and see what the debris is and go from there. So okay, let's see. Oh, yeah. So second to Facebook on the lines of interesting yet strangely idiotic comments. I'm going to have a sip for this one. Woody One Films asks, Woody Films, a quick question. Has anyone tried to make their stock dirt bike exhaust look like an FMF exhaust with stickers and paint? Woody, I'm running out to my garage after I do this to shoot that video. I'm going to show you how to make a stock pipe look like an FMF one with stickers and paint. That's the kind of thing you can find. That I've always wanted to know how to get 100,000 views on YouTube, and I think you've just given me the answer, because there is that is the best thing ever. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna have to. Man, as soon as 7:59 rolls around here, I'm heading out to the garage because I'm gonna have that video up first. He actually saw what he saw was I did this thing where I would actually take an FMF sticker and I could hold it behind a pulsating 4-stroke muffler, and I could get the pulses to actually peel the backing off the sticker so I could stick it on something. You can search that video out in our. Someplace, it's on our YouTube someplace, but it still doesn't have 100,000 views, but this one will. Jacala Warrior said, I think I just watched an infomercial, and he's talking about our our Honda Africa Twin review, where we reviewed the DCT bike. And John Beck and I sat on, and both of us pontificated and went on to great lengths how incredible and how much we liked the DCT on the Africa Twin, which we did. I'm not lying. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or bullshit it because I think that I can get some, extra money from a manufacturer because I say something nice about the bike they're pushing. Absolutely, Honda's pushing the DCT. That's their flagship technology. That's just like Christini with all-wheel drive. That's what sets his bike apart. That's what they're pushing. The DCT, frankly, if you're really just adventure riding and you're not trying to do something super technical, and you're what you're doing probably what all of us are doing 95% of the time we're on our adventure bike, that DCT is brilliant. It's really good. And the fact that you can manual shift it with your thumb, or maybe it's the thumb and finger, I forget, I haven't ridden one for a while. I'd love to have that on my KTM 1090 or a 790 or whatever. It's good. So if you think you just watched an infomercial, you should be careful of what you watch on the internet. Because if you came across a real infomercial, you might either be completely sold because it maybe comes across like they're trying to be honest, or you're so skeptical that you can't tell honest advice from someone that's trying to sell you something. So yeah, I don't think you watched an infomercial. You just watched a couple of guys honestly talking about a dirt bike. So yeah, but thanks for watching, Jala Warrior. Mike Sandpoint commented, "Hello, Jail. How about if you just took the top of the airbox and put on a slip-on exhaust on? Would you have to tune it, or will it be good to go?" He is talking about the CRF 450X. I'm pretty sure that I said this 100 times, and I'll say it again just to be absolutely 100% clear. If you start changing something on a bike that, it's a system, and if you change one thing, you're probably going to have to change something else. So on that bike specifically, especially since it is emissions compliant, generally there's kind of be lean. So all of a sudden you're going to let more air in and let more air out. You need to add more fuel. So the answer is yes, you will have to tune it, and it will not be good to go if you don't. It'll run really ratty. It'll probably make less power. And you have to tune it. If you want it to run properly, you have to tune it. On a lot of the motocross bikes, you can put aftermarket exhaust. You're not really going to, they're already pretty open on the air intake, but you can do exhaust and stuff, and they've tuned those to run with the stock system, knowing that most guys are just going to, slip something on or just bolt something on and not go to the lengths to do it properly. But so they tune those things that way. On the emissions compliant bikes, absolutely you're going to need to do something to do that. And Monton commented, oh, this is a good one. Best video on YouTube for the EXP disc and for the Recluse. Thank you, Monton. I appreciate that. You got to call up the Jala Warrior and tell him we make good videos. So he's talking about the Recluse clutch disc explained, where we basically just stand around and take a Recluse clutch apart and explain to you kind of how it does what it does, and then talk about some different tuning options that make you a little more aware of how you can get that thing set up properly for you. And maybe the way that Recluse sends it is perfect for you. For the way that Recluse sends it, I have to dink with it a little bit. And most people don't like the way that I have mine set up because my bike drags. When I put it in gear, it's like I'm always slipping the clutch a little bit. Yeah, Bob's sitting here telling me I'm the best Recluse clutch tuner in the world. So that's, he's weird. So it's not my fault. Let's see. I'm going to go through here and see what Tim says. Thank you again for your hard work. Hey Tim, yeah, thank you for your hard work. I see you've been out riding around with Dave. That gives me. Hey Jimmy, I need to come out and visit you sometime out there and see if I can knock you off your bar stool there at Randsburg. Let's see. Green stuff. Yeah, I got that. Do you wear your underwear backwards? Asking for a friend. Okay, now we're going down. San Felipe Bob's going to get untop fanned. And Mark Daniels wants to know why I wear my underwear backwards, right? Or why? Yeah, I'm not really sure. I lose track. It's hard to keep track of all this stuff. One of these days, we're going to do this show professionally. I'm going to have a producer in here. Board's going to actually have stuff that's important. We're going to cut to videos that we've produced. I have all these visions. Actually, I'm going to get these up on the podcasting sites. I actually went on to something that kind of helps you manage workflow and things like that. Oh, Mitch, you just made me thirsty. I see the Rainier over there. Imported from Washington. I got to look at those. I got up there. I looked at all those. I got to show you a video. I can't put it up on the internet, but it's a good little video clip I made up there. Anyways, let's see. Mark Daniels, no. Why the FMF sticker on the stock pipe? I didn't do that. Did I do that? Let's see. Let's see. That's now Heather. Now my wife's on there. She's telling me I'm not being nice. You gotta listen from the beginning there, honey. Let's see. Didn't I study this media stuff in college? I forgot everything I learned in college. So we are getting down to the last 10 minutes here. If we can hold out, it seems like it's going down the tubes. Let's see. What's the other question I had here someplace? Oh yeah. Buy t-shirts. Go to the dirtbiketest.com. There's a click on the button that says store. You can get a nice t-shirt like this, although we are getting low on a few of the more popular designs. And then when they're gone, they might be gone. I don't know. They could be collector's items. Going back to painting the pipe and putting a sticker on. I'm still amazed. You know, you can pretty much find out how to do anything you want on YouTube, good or bad. So, and you know what I need somebody to do? There's this kid that does this thing called Torture Test Magazine. I brought him up on the thing before. He actually sent me a letter that was just saying he had some new content, which is kind of strange for a digitally based company to send me a letter to my PO box to tell me that there was new content up. Probably because he's finding that that Facebook's and stuff doesn't want to promote his stuff without him paying for it. But get me in touch with this kid. I'd like to talk to him. I think he'd be a good addition. He's got a good heart. He's doing the he's kind of doing the things that people want to see done. A little coaching, I think, he'd be a good test rider. So, and someone else I saw wanted to know, how can I be retired and ride dirt bikes all the time? I think you have to. George will advise on. George will advise on that. Yeah, what is it? 30 years on the force. Yeah, police department. You can do that. You can have a day job. You can, if you don't get hit by a car. Yes, Caltrans is a good thing. I found that being a professional motorcycle rider and then like kind of milking that for all it's worth was pretty good to a certain extent. But I also learned how to put the period at the end of the sentence and like Bob told me, if you just write like you talk, it'll be easy. Told me that when I was like 18. Yeah, when I thought I was going to be a professional motorcycle racer, and you're like, you're never going to be a professional motorcycle racer. You should invest in your medical insurance, which meant go to school. You don't remember this? No. Yeah, you told me that. You said if you just write like you talk, it'll be easy. Because I was probably telling you that English is hard. I can't learn this stuff. Yeah. So I know it's horrible. Both of them. Hey, it communicates to my audience. They understand what I'm talking about most of the time. Well, some of the time. So what's the secret? Let's see. Got my gray collector DBT. You did not get a gray collector DBT shirt, Mark. I'm pretty sure that, like this one here, these are for special people. You have to come and work. That requires a little bit of work to get those ones. So I see questions coming across, but I'm not seeing them on the thing. Let's see. You just don't spell like you talk. It's hard to read too. Okay, Johnny Williams. On a YZ250F, I took the bowl off the carburetor and cleaned the jets. Now it idles fast in gear and just fine in neutral. Is there an attachment on the carb that can fix this? It idles fast in gear. That's strange. It shouldn't. I mean, essentially, you should have a little bit of drag. What year? I don't know what year your YZ250F is, and I don't know whether they have a shift position sensor in there. I know in some of the WRs they do, so it knows what gear it's in. So there might be something to that. Maybe you neglected to plug that back in. If there is why would it? It can't. It's Yeah, well, but why would it? It wouldn't matter that it was in gear. There should be really no differentiation for gear, and unless it's adjusting like a stepper motor or something like that, which it doesn't do that. I can't see how that could. I can't see how that could happen. Actually,
2012.
it's 2012. Yeah. So, wait, they had carburetors then? When? What year are we in? I have to go back in my memory. You know what? If you took it apart and if you used carb cleaner and stuff and squirted it in there, there's something inside of that carburetor called the mid body of the carburetor, and it's those safety Allen bolts, and the carburetor comes apart into about 6 pieces. When you take this apart, I bet you that you will find that whatever you use to clean it melted something inside of the mid body, and I don't know why it's doing different idling in or out of gear. That doesn't necessarily make sense, but you might want to look into a mid body carb rebuild kit to solve that, because that's the gas these days is bad. If you've ever run race fuel, for instance, in the bike, sometimes that stuff can eat at the gaskets, and for sure carb cleaner can if it sits in there for very long. Let's see. Shift position sensors on YZs for emissions. No, they would be on the WRs for the emissions, or they would be on more current YZs to enable different mapping for different gear selection. So it can be used for emissions for sure, but it can be used also to make the bike run better in like kind of a competition settings. Gray and white, not the red and blue one, but I wear it proudly. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, that got it. Thank you, Mark. You do. I just want to make sure none of my I gotta go track down the knockoff shirts. Some guy. Yeah, you can probably buy a DBT shirt in Tijuana or Mexicali. I got some pretty cool Fox gear down there once. So, yes, mid-body gaskets, got his on eBay. Yep. So All Balls makes them. Moose Racing kind of rebrands the All Balls kits and stuff like that. But they are, just be careful when you're pulling that thing apart, not to strip out those nuts, those hex heads. They're Torx bits or security Torx bits, and usually the kits come with the replacement screws. If you do, you can kind of use a small little chisel and get those things back together. So, Bob says he can vouch for Mark Daniels. That's good. I don't know what that. You probably vouch for me sometimes, and that worries me as well. So, San Felipe, Bob. Did you answer all the Christini questions? That's important. I need someone to kind of. Take that one over. So yeah, and I think guys are having internet forum love there. You know what I should start doing? I start taking calls. Right? Did that make this a little bit better if I actually took calls? I actually would try to get guests, but like nobody wants to come. I don't even want to be in Pahrump and when it's 100 and it was nice today. It was only like 98, but I had to, like last night I went riding. I had to wait almost till the sun went down. And someone told me, yes, I should have had a Baja Design headlight on it, and they're absolutely right, but I'm going to keep this bike for a little while. I'm actually waiting because Baja Designs has this new, they have a good helmet light, but in conjunction with Moto Minded, they're building a new battery-powered helmet light that means I can use it on any bike because I can just carry the battery in my backpack, and they actually even have them so that you can plug it you can double it up onto the stock battery, and it doesn't draw enough to run that thing dead. But the KTM XC headlight was actually not as bad as I was expecting. It was pretty good. So, I mean, not compared to anything that's really good, which is most of the stuff these days. But for a stock headlight, at least it wasn't sending light up into outer space. I asked earlier what forks came on the TPI bikes. Depends on the bike. The XCWs come with the WP Explorer fork. It's an open cartridge fork. It has compression damping on one side and rebound damping on the other, although the forks dampen both directions, both sides, just adjustable only for one direction on each side. The adjustments really work. I think that's some of the best off-road suspension I've ridden on any bike. And I was really stoked on the WR 450 that we had lately for the slower stuff. I got my Honda working really good, and I have a 2019 KTM 350 EXC that I was kind of using it. The KTM EXC, the 2019, was a little wallowy compared to those two bikes, and whatever they've done in 2020, they've gotten rid of some of that wallowy feeling, and then added a certain amount of bottoming resistance, because I expected there was some ditches I dropped into and hit some bigger bumps yesterday. And I raced the bike at a works race that had a motocross track on it with some pretty big doubles, and I wasn't actually going to jump one of them because I was kind of worried about. I was more worried about the bike sucking up the takeoff than what it was going to do on the landing. It was really good. And so to kind of roll back to that, I raced the, what class did I ride? 50A on the 300. And, the guy I was racing against on the motocross track in the beginning was on an SX. He was on a KTM SX, was his bike. And I don't know exactly what his setup was or anything, but, I thought I was going to suffer quite a bit around the motocross track, and in fact, I didn't. And I thought that KTM had clicked the compression on the fork and the shock up. I know on the 150 they did. On the 150 they had it turned so it was only 4 clicks out, and at my weight on the 150 that was a good thing. But when I raced that bike, it was literally stock, 100% stock, running on pump gas. I'd probably rode it before I raced it. Before I rode the first unclassified race, the practice on it, I'd ridden it from the track, did a photo shoot for about 20 minutes, and then went straight to the start line. So when they start talking about ready to race, it was pretty much ready to race with stock clickers. And then the 150, and funny thing about that 150 that I raced is the KTM 150s overall, 2 of the 4 races that were big bike friendly, that weren't pro races, but in the open A class. Not bad for a 150, huh? Yeah, so I guess you need more power. So, but all they did to the 150 was crank the compression adjuster on the forks quite a bit. But the XC has the air fork, the 48 AER fork. It's set up for off-road. They just kind of checked the air pressure on it. And when I rode the 250 XC, it was basically stock settings, stock pressure. They just set the ride height for me and went out there. But on the open cartridge fork specifically, the way that the compression seems to work is it's a little bit more of a mid-speed compression adjuster than it is completely low speed, because you don't feel it so much on the low speed, but it does adjust the ride height. The more you click that in, the more the fork kind of comes up, and it'll let you know when you've gone too far, because it will get a little bit deflecty. And then when you go too soft, you can feel it go down, and then the bike starts handling funny. It'll get either unstable or get really sluggish feeling. So that's kind of the range of where that fork is. But right now, I'm claiming some of the best stock suspension I've ever ridden. And with the PDS, they went there. They've been using that progressive spring, which I remember back in the day we had a Magic setup on the PDS, and that's what we used to run, was a progressive spring on it. So pretty good there. Let's see. Can a tuner resolve bottoming resistance while making slower bump? Where did that just disappeared? Can a tuner? Let's see. I have the Explorer forks in my 500 XCW. Let's see. Can a tuner improve bottoming resistance while maintaining slower bump trail compliance on a Kayaba SSS fork? Yes, but the best way to control the bottoming resistance is just adding oil. And before you send it to a tuner, I would suggest, if you want to get more bottoming resistance, just add 5 cc's to each leg. Just shoot it in through the air bleed hole and see if that solves the problem. Generally, the manual will tell you where they put the standard oil level or the amount that they put in, and usually you have a good enough range to be able to add some. But that's, if you like the initial bump compliance where it's at, try just adding some oil, and it'll actually make it more progressive at the end of the stroke and really help the bottoming. But any good suspension tuner can, I mean, with today's modern suspension, they can get it to do anything if you can communicate it to them, and they're halfway decent. It doesn't take much. Let's see. Man, the question, see, there's like this lull around 45 minutes, and then like 10 minutes to go, here go the questions. We're just rapid fire questions at the end of the show here. Hey, Jimmy. That's not a question. Chris J. Pilatus, I have a 2009 KX450 Christini. Just tuned in. Missed your discussion earlier. In your opinion, why isn't Christini a bigger phenomenon? Chris, you really got to listen to the whole show. But that's why we put it up on YouTube, and you can go watch the reruns there. I'm going to have them up on podcasts, so the next time you're stuck in a car driving someplace, I can bore you to your next destination. Or we usually put these up right away back on Facebook and just cut through the first 5 minutes where it's really boring, and then we get into it a little bit deeper. Bo thinks it was the cost of the Christini. I don't think so. I mean, you think about what you pay to get a, like a 4-wheel drive truck. There's a premium added to that, and there's advantages and disadvantages. And I think right now, motorcycles, in most people's opinion, do not need all-wheel drive. I think for some things, trail riding, adventure bike riding, I think it would be a huge advantage. It's just going to allow you to go more places, go there easier, less stress. You can go in the snow, all kinds of stuff. I have it at standard level, once the initial bump compliance, but it does bottom pretty good when pushing it harder. Yeah, Dan, go try that oil level. Simple, cheap. That's my thing. I'm a cheap person, and I'll tell you how to do it for free before I'm going to ask you to spend $400 to go do it. At least you can kind of try that. So we overshot it. I'm a few minutes over. I'm down to my last little sip here. At least my wife's not telling me to quit being mean to everybody. I guess I redeemed myself. So for this episode, hey, next week I'm planning, I didn't see Chris from Wattweiler show up, but I'm planning on doing it live from Wattweiler Performance because there's some new bike intros next week that I'm going to go to in California on the motocross tracks. So I'll be down there. I think he wants to lock me in the dyno, and so nobody can hear me. So that'd probably be the best show that we've done. Maybe you can get more ratings than the Andrew Short one. I know John's afraid to come back because he's always judged. But hey, that one from my motorhome last week actually didn't do too bad. So that's it. Support us on Amazon at the bottom of the stories. Think that buying a T-shirt wouldn't help, but make sure you do it the next couple of days, because I hated the guy who, poor guy, he sent me the T-shirt order like the day before I left to go up to Washington, so it took a little while. And let's see, I'm running a bib and tubeless in the rear. You should try. I've run all those things before. I run Nitro Mooses, and I have a lot of bikes with flat tires in the garage right now because they sit around and there's a tubeless in them. So, okay, Mitch, yeah, I'm going to work on getting that beta one of these days. So that's it. We will catch you on the next one, and I will see you out on the trail. So cheers.